Welcome to Empowered AF 2.0. This is Mark Santiago, your host, CEO and founder of Empowered Man. And today I'm going to talk about something very, very powerful. Well, I always think I talk about stuff that's powerful. But today specifically, if your wife wants a divorce, we're going to talk about the good ways and the bad ways to handle it as a man. Now, when you think about it, you go, what's a good way? What's a bad way? I'm going to tell you my opinion, right? My opinion may not mean anything to you, but I'm going to tell you what I think empowered men do. That would be the good way, and the disempowered man would be the bad way, right? So we're talking about different examples of this. When you're watching this, you're probably going through this situation right now where your wife has come to you and says, I want a divorce, I want out of the marriage. And you're trying to figure out, like, what do I do? So what most men do is they go and they start telling everyone what their wife is doing. They start telling everyone, my wife wants a divorce, I don't know what to do, or they shut down completely. We got both sides to it, and both are bad. Bad way number one, telling everyone what your wife is doing because you want to manipulate them into being on your side. This is dangerous. This is disempowering. When I went through this situation, I even manipulated my in-laws. I manipulated our friends. I tried to get everyone to go, hey, someone needs to intervene because my wife's clearly not listening to me. I want somebody to hold her accountable because she's not being accountable to me. So I went and started telling everyone, yeah, she wants out of the marriage. Yeah, she says she wants a divorce. Yeah, she wants this, all these things. And all that did was disempower me. It did not empower me at all in any way, shape, or form. In fact, what it did was it pulled on the heartstrings of our friends, pulled on the heartstrings of her parents, and got them all on my side. And some of you are thinking like, well, yeah, that's what I did, obviously. Well, of course, because you want to feel validated in what you're experiencing and what you're going through. And I'm here to tell you that if you need validation from other people, you don't know who the heck you are. There's a good way to this. The good way, I think, is to protect her story. That's right. You go, but wait a minute, it's my story. No, it's not. It's both of your stories. But her story is nobody else's business unless she wants to share it. So I look at it this way. If her story is, you're a bad husband, you're a bad leader, you're bad whatever, and she doesn't want to be with you anymore, that's her story. So protecting her story is one of the most empowered things you can do. What you're feeling is important, but throwing her under the bus is one of the worst things you can do. It's disempowering. What's empowering is learning how to actually process and communicate with her and other people what you're feeling, what you're going through, so that you don't just throw her under the bus. All right, so let's talk about bad way number two. I call it the cling, beg, and send flowers method, right? This is where a guy's going through the divorce, or she says, I want a divorce, or she sends paperwork to divorce, and you just start clinging, you start begging, you start sending her flowers. Some of you even try to sleep with her. You're like, well, maybe if we can hook up. And I heard that the other day from a guy, he's like, yeah, we've been hooking up. And I'm like, how do you hook up with your wife? Like, bro, that's not it's not a girl on the side. She's not a prostitute. She's a human being. She's your wife. Like, you make love to her. You don't hook up with her. And I think that was part of the guy's problem, was because he saw her as something he owned. He didn't see her as a human being that he loved and had boundaries and had respect for. So there's so many guys that will just cling. They will beg. They'll send flowers. They'll try to do. That's a disempowered way. What that does is it makes it really obnoxious to the woman because she's put up boundaries and said, hey, I don't want to be with you anymore. But by you clinging, begging, sending flowers, trying to sleep with her, all that stuff, you're disempowering. In fact, some would say it's called simp behavior. I don't really get into all that. But here, what I look at is it's disempowerment. It does not empower you at all. And in fact, it makes it just disgusting to her. So here's the good way. Respect her boundaries. Respect her boundaries and create boundaries for yourself. This is important. What does that mean? Well, at Empowered Man, in our Thrive program specifically, we create a grid, or we create a program called Neutral Woman. And what that means is, instead of treating her like she's your wife, we treat her like another human being that we're kind to, that we're sort of nice to, but we're not trying to get something from her. We're not trying to treat her as if she is still our wife, even when she's saying, hey, I don't really want to be your wife anymore. I want out of the marriage. By doing that, you're respecting her and you're respecting yourself. So some simple boundaries might be not kissing her, not trying to kiss her and tell her you love her, not buying her flowers, not going over the top. Like, I see so many guys that disempower themselves by like just going out of the way to do everything to serve her and just try to get her to like see that you're still a good person and that you can change and all those things. But all that does is put you in a place where you're disempowered. That's the bad way. The good way is where you empower yourself, where you actually start to go, I'm going to have boundaries. And boundaries just look like things for yourself that you're not going to do, that's going to put you in a position that makes her feel like you're trying to cling, beg, and get her to come back to you. What a woman wants ultimately is a man who respects himself and respects her. By showing her that you respect her boundaries and backing off and giving her that space, it'll either A, create a vacuum where she comes back, or B, it'll show her how much you really care and give her the time and space she needs, and she'll either come back or she'll decide she doesn't want to be with you. And that's the thing. The reason men cling and beg is their egos get in the way, and they're like, I can't fathom this person not wanting to be with me. You know, you go, oh, I love her, I love her, I love her. I would check that, because love does not cling. Love does not beg. Love does not violate boundaries. In fact, I think love accepts boundaries. Love gives space when needed. Love understands, because if that's what you really want, if you really want to love her. Now, the flip side is you can manipulate her. And I see this all the time too, where guys will do this clinging, begging and stuff, and they'll go out of their way, and she'll finally just like lower her boundaries, she'll lower her whatever, and she'll come and sleep with you. Or she'll come back to the marriage, but meanwhile, she's still like with her fling on the side. Or meanwhile, she's still thinking about the other things, or the grass being greener. And you've manipulated her, and you think, oh, phew, everything's okay. But it's not okay. It's not okay because nothing's changed. And this is why it's the bad way, because when you do this, all you're focused on is saving, clinging, begging, all that stuff that disempowers you, and you never take the opportunity to actually grow from what you're going through. The final way, we call it the final bad way, is hitting this proverbial, what we call she button, right? This is where you blame her for everything. This is where you don't recognize anything that you've done wrong. You recognize everything she's done wrong. Now, I've been doing this work for many, many years. And what I've come to the conclusion as to why men do this is because it's much easier to focus on saving your wife. It's much easier to focus on what she's done wrong. It's much easier to even look like you care about her, when in reality, what you care about is your own ego. You hit the she button because of your own ego. You hit the she button because you want to protect what you once had. But it's really not about the family. It's really not even about her. It's about you. And when you can recognize how you've actually helped fail and how you've brought failure to the marriage, that's where it's powerful. That kind of powerful recognition is what empowers you. Hitting the she button is disempowering, but hitting the me button is one of the most empowering things you can do. And that focus, that time, right? If you give her the space, you give her the time that she needs, and you start looking inward, you start doing the inward work, it changes things. You'll start to see how you've been a manipulator, how you've been a jerk, how you didn't make her feel loved, how you didn't hear her, all of those things. And all that does is prompt in her brain, man, he's getting it. He's starting to understand there are changes that I want from him. And many times the wife will come back and see that. But a lot of times they don't. And if they don't, it's okay. And I'm saying it's okay, not because I like divorce, not because I want to see this thing end from you, but I know that when men do the work, they win regardless. I always say that to men when they're talking to us about joining our Thrive program. And I'll say, you win no matter what. Because when you grow through what you go through, you become a new man, you become an empowered man. An empowered man never loses. Now, obviously, there's things in life that you're going to fail at. Even as an empowered man, I fail all the time, right? There's always things that aren't going to always go my way, but that's not failure to me. That's growth to me. And having a growth mindset is one of the most powerful things you can have, and that's an empowered man. That's an empowered mindset. And so there are many good ways. There are many bad ways to approach the situation. My hope is that you look at the good ways and you say, you know what? I'm going to be empowered. I'm going to choose empowerment versus disempowerment. So, hey, in my comments below, why don't you put in there what way you're choosing or what way you've actually been doing. Maybe you've been doing the bad way. Put in the comments, been doing the bad way. Here's how I'm going to do the good way. Put it in the comments below, and I'll see you on the other side.